And again, our big vision is to see every neighborhood revitalized in North Omaha. And the Lighthouse program and the Lighthouse model is such a key component to seeing a neighborhood develop. If you don't know what a Lighthouse family is, it's a family who moves into a North Omaha neighborhood and they commit to connecting with that neighborhood relationally, caring for its needs, and then calling it higher through love. And so we get to spend some time with some incredible leaders, Alex and Aaron, Jordan and Megan. So we're going to go through just a few questions. Is that okay for you guys? Is that good? Okay. So you guys are Lighthouse leaders. What made you guys interested in being a Lighthouse family? Like what was the draw for you to the program? Alex and Aaron, I'll start with you guys. What drew you guys and drew your heart to this mission? What do you guys think?
I think for me personally, what drew me to this ministry was like how different it was from everything I'd heard. I've kind of been attracted to that uncomfortable part and that like putting yourself out there part. I knew it'd be a really big learning experience. I knew it wasn't like a traditional model. And so, yeah, I think that just that alone intrigued me enough and kind of like tested my my curiosity enough to kind of like commit to it. And I knew if I would commit to it, then I was all in with it. So I think just the amount of uncomfortability that came with it was intriguing to me.
Yeah. And I think for me and for both of us too, we've just seen that it works. Like we were lucky enough to kind of come in as we've already seen successes in the Lighthouse program, but the stats are there, the relationships are there, the transformations are there. We've seen them all happen. So it's pretty tricky to say no to something that we've seen firsthand works and changes lives. So I think that was pretty much it for me. Like, why not be a part of something that's totally changing the game for people?
Yeah, and you guys are young too. You guys are pretty young. How old are you guys?
26,
27.
26, 27. Young. You guys just got married, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, year and a half or so, yeah.
Powerful. And just in the Lighthouse program, you guys are consistent. Both of you guys are consistently with our Lighthouse leaders because our Lighthouse leaders tend to be younger. And it's just that time of passion and purpose and finding that together. And so it's cool to see just young leaders in the community because that is actually kind of rare. So yeah. Megan, Jordan, what about you guys? Like, why were you guys drawn to this program? What made you interested in becoming a Lighthouse family?
You want to go first?
Well, to be honest, I feel like we were kind of pushed, like the Lord really just pushed us into it. Like, and there was no option for us. Like we didn't want to at first. I was scared. We literally said we would never live in North Omaha ever. We lived in Papillion, like farthest away that we can get from here. But we really felt like the Lord was like, you guys need to be here. And honestly, like it's completely changed our lives. And not even like, I feel like they've changed our lives. Like the neighborhood has changed us, not necessarily like we came in and like changed a bunch of stuff, but we learned a lot about community and like how to take care of people and how to be selfless. And yeah, I feel like that we didn't have an option. The Lord just was like, you need to do this. Like, okay, cool.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was, I first moved to Omaha, and Joe, you know this. I was working for a real estate company and property management company, and I was maintaining an empty house late one night, and 3 people were shot right across the street from me in a drive-by shooting, and that is kind of what pushed us away from North Omaha down to Papillion. Just fear, the enemy. Didn't want us to give this concept, this ministry, a chance. And then it was through Emily and Paul Landfear who sort of called that fear out in us and such a great way, and introduced us to the Lighthouse ministry. And there was just all these doors opened, and before we knew it, it was like, oh, this is what he's been calling us to. It feels very natural. It just goes right back to the gospel, which is love your neighbor as yourself. And like, if we can't start there, we shouldn't be doing it anywhere.
That's good, man. Megan, I love what you shared about like we didn't want to do it, but we felt God calling us to it. And I love Ron's story too, because Ron's story is similar. You know, he'll say he wanted to move anywhere to do God's work except North Omaha.
Yeah.
But what I love about our leaders, and even our Lighthouse, is, you know, we felt a God-given calling to this neighborhood. And, you know, it's fun at first. You hear the vision, 700 neighborhoods, blah, like it's exciting. But then the reality set in. And I remember when we first moved in, just some of the activity that was going on in the neighborhood, some things that were happening made me evaluate my heart. And I'm sure you guys had the same feelings too. Like, evaluate your heart. Like, is this truly where God wants us to be? And I mean, obviously we're still here 4 or 5 years later. And so God just does a work. And we believe that each Lighthouse leader, and that's why we do such a long process up front, because we want to make sure that every Lighthouse leader is called to this thing. And we all play a role. Some people are, you know, donors. Some people are volunteers. Some people are coaches. But when people want to be a Lighthouse leader, we really take them through a process to say, man, is this your calling to go into this neighborhood? Because of the tough moments also. And that leads us into the next question. What have been maybe some tough parts of living in the neighborhood? Maybe what have been some challenges maybe for your family that you guys have experienced in your neighborhood specifically? And you don't need to go into detail or names or anything like that, but what have been some experiences that have been challenging for you guys? Sorry, let's go Alex in there. Yeah, it's your turn.
Yeah. So I'm not from Omaha originally. Aaron is. He went to Bryan High School, so from Bellevue area, Papillion-ish. So I was but two raised in like a very white suburban kind of neighborhood. So my experience was not, thus far, has not included a lot of diversity. So I've kind of lived in this fear of people questioning our intentions. Like, what are we doing here? We're not welcome here. I had this vision in my head of us being like flipped the bird every time we were outside, that like people just wouldn't be welcoming. And I think it was like the first couple nights we were here, I had this epiphany. Every single person that was driving by was like waving at us. We were outside and we were getting like waved at. And I was just, I think, yeah, that just like turned everything for me. But it's still tough. It's hard to kind of beat that narrative or the devil saying you're not wanted here, you're not good here, you're not welcome here, you're not a part of this community, when time and time again we're told otherwise. So I think that's probably the toughest part. And I also know that that's like my own experience and yeah, the devil kind of entering in, but I think that's been tough for me.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit for us too.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Just the acceptance part of kind of being plopped into a neighborhood where you don't look like a lot of the people, you don't have a lot of the same background experience, those kinds of things. And just like wanting to fit in at a certain level of just of a neighborly, like lovely, I can wave, you can wave, kind of like even playing field. So that's kind of been hard, for me and for us, just to kind of find that balance of what works and then build off of those experiences, which build off of others, which build off of trust and all those things. So yeah, just like being picked up and plopped in North Omaha was uncomfortable and very fearful, but we've had a pretty good balance and we've had to talk to a lot of strategies and things to get out to the neighbors and things like that. So we're picking up on it. We haven't perfected it, but we're picking up on it.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good, man. And even in that challenge and in those struggles, I find that God just continues to teach us things and he stretches us in a lot of ways. And the stigmas and maybe stereotypes we've had about a certain area start to shift a little in those experiences. And so that's something I've personally really grown in just as a Lighthouse leader. Megan and Jordan, what about you guys? What have been some just challenges living in the neighborhood, and you guys have been in 2 different neighborhoods, right? Charles Street, and then you are currently
20th and Fowler.
20th and Fowler, right? What have been some different challenges that you guys have experienced?
Yeah, I think for us it was, I mean, we're a young couple. We've got babies, and I work full time. So for a while, especially during the winter months, it was really hard for us to just get out and meet anyone, because we would only see them when they were shoveling their driveway or on their way to work. And I'd always wave, but it's just like, God, how can we connect? How like give us a moment that feels organic, that we can just really get to know each other. And he's always provided that, but there's always that hurdle of like, will they like us? Are we supposed to be here? Yeah.
I think for me, honestly, the hardest thing has been getting over literally just my fear. And not even that it's like warranted at all, because I haven't experienced anything that would make me fearful, because all of my experiences here have been positive. And like, I love, and we would have neighborhood kids over all summer last year, and like, it was phenomenal. Like, all good experiences, loved the people I was around. But for some reason, the enemy just like really played on my fear, especially with my kids, and like my stigmas or stereotypes or whatever I had in my mind of living in North Omaha. And he really had to, like, the Lord really had to break those down into me in order for me to start feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been my biggest thing.
That's good. That's good. And it's real, right? I mean, there's a real need. And we talk about this in training, but for our audience watching this video, we say that, you know, we always have a optimistic, life-lifting vision for North Omaha. I mean, our dream is to see a new inner city. Oh, I lost Megan. We want to see a new inner city, and but at the same time, there's a reality, right? And Ron shares a lot in his book, Out of the Seats into the Streets, about his reality with his family moving in, right, to Larimore Street and to Fowler Street, where there was real stories in that book. And a lot of us still experience some realities. I mean, even a couple weeks ago, we experienced gunshots and certain things in the neighborhood, and it affects you, right, as a leader. And that's why, like I shared earlier, it's so important for us to be called and to walk into that purpose and to experience God's power in this movement, because there's realities, there's crime, right? There's moments of some interesting times, but that's why we're here. And for me, even when the craziness sometimes happens, it reminds me of why this program exists, why our families commit, why we're willing to go into the neighborhood, which is powerful, and transform it, is because of the realities. And watch what God does. Again, we're not coming in to save the day, but we're coming in to see what God does. And so just super powerful. Let me ask you this, guys, Alex and Aaron, what is your favorite part of being a Lighthouse leader? Like, whether it's a moment or a principle or an opportunity that you get to be a part of, what's your favorite part of being a Lighthouse leader?
Oh gosh. I would probably say just like doing life with people who are different than us, and like Aaron said, who have different experiences. Like doing life, like we ask our neighbors for eggs and for milk. Like, we're not just serving them, they're serving us just as much. We were just talking with our other neighbors about how our neighbors in the back alley are always watching our house. Like, if we're not home, if there's a package on the front step, like that's doing life together. And sometimes I think I find the most joy when we forget that we're even doing this mission on like purpose and with intention. Because at the end of the day, we're all just doing life together. And I think that's when I get the most excited, is like, Aaron's home from school, so of course we're gonna like hang out with the neighbor kids during the day who don't have anywhere else to go. Like, what other option is there? Like, we're all just doing life together and trying to like survive. So that's, I think, what gets me most hyped and most excited.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Love that.
I think it's the little things for me, just like when the neighbors wave first, or when the neighbors
Yeah.
like are open enough to like ask us for things, or like let us know, hey, you have a package on your front door, and things like that, where which is really the opposite of like a lot of the fears I had coming into it, of just like not being able to trust people and like walking on eggshells around here and things like that. And so just like when our neighbors come to us and things are like light and easy, and they make the first move, because it just proves like there's like an established trust in like a neighborhood. This is a community, a small community. Our block is our community, and they look out for us, we look out for them, and that's just like how neighbors should neighbor.
Good. It's really good, man. It's good. Megan, Jordan, what about you guys? What's your favorite part about being a Lighthouse leader?
Go ahead.
I would say close to the same thing that Alex said. Just the community, like having, so at our last house, there was like, oh my gosh, like 30 kids around our house, and they would literally just come over and play basketball and hang out and like love on our kids, and our kids would play with them. And it was like the best thing ever. We would have movie nights and game nights, and like we knew all the parents, and it was literally just like, we loved it. The community was great. And we just moved here, and we're still like getting to know the people, but geez, they're like coming up asking us if we need anything, and like
they helped us move. We had a
yeah.
gentleman across the street run over when I was trying to get, like, I think it was a couch out of our van, and he's like, you need help. I'm like, okay, fine, sure. But yeah, so it's been really cool seeing how they're just as like their intent is to get to know us and to care on us and to show us that they've got our backs as much as our desire is to show them. I think my favorite part is just like when you're walking in God's calling, if this is your calling, just how right it feels in the moment. Like you're looking around at 25 kids playing, hoops in your driveway, or all the girls over for a movie night with Megan, and she like went through all her old clothes and gave some to the girls, and it was just cool, like having them run up over the next few weeks, like in the clothes that Megan gave them. And
it was really fun.
It turned into family like way quicker for us than I think that we expected.
Yeah, 100%.
It's good. I got to unmute myself. Sorry. That's really good. I think one of my favorite parts about being a Lighthouse leader is just the intentionality. I think I heard a lot about, I grew up in a Christian home to a degree. Heard a lot about loving your neighbor, heard a lot about being missional, heard a lot about that throughout my life. Not all of us grew up in Christian homes, but when I became a Lighthouse leader, it actually became almost like a personal expectation for us as a couple and as a family to be Christ and to be love to the neighborhood. And there was just an accountability in that. There was an expectation for us to be on mission and to make a difference. And I think that was just that I've probably learned more about following Jesus by being a Lighthouse leader than anything. Because it's not just learning it, it's actually doing it, right? It's not just sitting on a Sunday morning. It's actually living out the mission and being intentional. And so, that's probably what I love most about it. And it's so cool to see how the simple things can change, right? Like Alex, what you were sharing about the eggs, and even Megan, just kids hanging out, just being in a community together with you. And you're like, I don't even know what's going on, but people are hanging out, loving each other, and just building great community. And so it's so powerful. Let me ask you this question. How has your perspective of North Omaha changed since you've moved in? So you guys have kind of already touched this a little bit, but I want to dig into that a little bit because I'm from Omaha, right? Some of us aren't from Omaha, but a lot of us are. We grew up learning certain things about the community and a narrative about North Omaha. I mean, I remember when I was a kid and my parents would say something to the degree of, you don't ever go there. Like that was literally the motto. And it was almost like it was wrong to go there, which I'm just being honest. When I moved in and at least started to spend time there, I started to realize that we're just people here. It's just a community. People go to work, right? Take their kids to school, go to work, go home, right? They live life. My perspective has shifted completely, and I've seen the gold, so much gold in this community. What have you guys seen? Aaron and Alex, how has your perspective shifted? I know you guys aren't, Alex, I know you're not directly from Omaha, but how has it shifted just living here?
Go ahead.
So yeah, like I said earlier, I grew up in Bellevue, which isn't too far from North Omaha, but in my parents' eyes, yeah, B-town, yes. In my parents' eyes, Bellevue was far enough, and yeah, there was they told us not to go past Martha Street, going from south to north, and so that was always kind of like my divider line in my head, and my when I would go out with friends and things like that, I would. My eyes would open up a little more. My ears would perk up just based on my parents' biases and prejudice against North Omaha. And so that curiosity, like I talked about earlier, just like really that amplified, and it was just resounding when we got this opportunity to do this. So some like, I guess the question was missed and things have been like busted, right?
Has it changed?
Yeah, but my perspective has changed. It's just, yeah, what you were saying earlier is like, these are people that work hard, that do all the same things that people in Bellevue do.
Mm-hmm.
Jobs might look different. Transportation might look different. Households might look different, but they're people. They need love too. They like love. They like neighbors. They like people that look out for them. And so just the big picture really got a lot smaller when we got in the house, just to like, oh, they're just like us. They're just like us. They live the same life we do, So things like those things that we were fearful of, that I was fearful of, and my parents tried to protect me from, that just like mass exposure right away was like really eye-opening for me to realize like this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
Really good. Appreciate it, man. Alex, did you have anything or no? You good?
No, yeah. I mean, the only thing for me, I'm from Des Moines, so I didn't really know much about North Omaha, and I don't know who knows anything about the Enneagram, but I'm a type 7, so I was like, let's go, let's do this thing, it's going to be a party, and Aaron was like, not so fast, and I was like, no, it's fine, it's going to be great, it's going to be so fun. So I really didn't know what to expect.
Good. We all have our own experiences. Megan, Drew, what about you guys, like perspectives? How has it shifted since you moved in?
Yeah, I think that I really didn't know much about North Omaha first moving here. Just Megan had mentioned a couple of things, but I kind of got to witness sort of like the ugly side of it firsthand, and so that was like my first experience. So like going from that and then having God work on my heart and getting us here to this stage, I realized that a lot of the negative thoughts that I had built up about North Omaha, a lot of them were still there. And so it was him working through those with me to the point where like whenever I would tell people what part of town I lived, they would kind of give me this look. And so I'd have to like, I would start to reassure, oh no, we're a part of a ministry. That's the only reason we're there. And that was something that was convicting, that God was using to convict me was no, I'm not like, you don't know how long I have you here for. And you're like, you need to be here and you need to be North Omaha proud. And because this is like, these are people that could be in your life the rest of your life.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah. It's interesting because my parents actually, my entire life, they've worked in North Omaha. And so like I would drive down here all the time over off of, where is it, like 42nd and Military or somewhere over there, like right down the street from Bridge is where my parents worked literally all my life. So I feel like I shouldn't have had a negative like picture of North Omaha, but I definitely did. And I think that I thought that it was going to be a really like me first community. like everyone is just like taking care of themselves and like not caring about the people around them. But I like couldn't have been more wrong, especially like with the couple of places that we've lived. Like our neighbors have, again, like the Hixsons, have looked out for us. Like if something was happening to our house, like our next door neighbor would come and tell us.
Yeah.
And like if something happened at our house when we were gone, like in front of it, they would come and tell us. And like it's really just been like a community that's really tightly knit, and that's a lot different from what I thought it was going to be.
So good. So many gold spots in North Omaha, and I think it's easy to watch the news, right, and hear the things, and right, you paint this picture, and I think that's what happened to me young. Paint this picture in your mind. You're told things by your parents or friends, and you just assume and you generalize. And not saying that some of those things aren't real, but there are some of the most incredible people in this community. And as Lighthouse leaders, as much as we're coming in to help, like what I think, was it you, Alex, or Megan? Somebody said, like, I think it might have been Megan, that you come in and you actually get helped yourself. Like you get transformed yourself. And in Ron's book, he shares that. He says, I thought I was coming in to help. I thought I was coming in to like say, kind of save it or whatever. But he said what happened was I was changed and we were transformed. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been probably more transformed by moving here than anybody. One more question I have for you guys is just tell us a quick story of a God moment, of a moment where you were able to help somebody out. You don't have to use names, but just a family in the neighborhood or somebody you got connected with that you were able to see life change from what you guys were able to do for them. Do you guys have anybody off the top of your head, Alex and Aaron? Just whatever comes to mind.
The first story that comes to mind for me was it was the winter time, our first winter in the house, and we live on a hill, and every once in a while in the wintertime we can hear some wheels turning out front, people not being able to make it up the hill. So
free entertainment.
Free entertainment for some, work for others. Throw on the boots and the gloves to run out there and try to help sometimes.
Yes.
But I was in help mode and opportunity to go, live this lighthouse purpose out real quick before I laid down and got warm in the cozy house. And so put the boots on, put the gloves on, went outside, and I was pushing this van up the hill, and she stops and puts it in park. And I thought she had given up on the trek up the hill, but it turns out we had made it to her house. They were moving into the house right across the street from us.
Wow.
And the van, it was a minivan full of trash bags of clothes, and that they were coming from an apartment over in South Omaha and moving over north. And so just like God used that opportunity, just like something so simple as like helping somebody push a car out. And she parked the car, got out and said, grab a couple bags, I'll follow me in. And so just like that, she welcomed me, I welcomed her into the neighborhood, and I was carrying bags into their house and they weren't even moved in yet. Wow. So just the willingness and like the feeling of God like touching and nudging me to just even help in something so small, like birth a really great friendship and great neighborhood, because she has kids, and so that connection sparked easily after that. And so it's been a really unique connection with them because we're here from minute one, and just that's just part of this. That's a story that kind of epitomizes my experience here so far.
It's awesome, man. Great job, bro. Jordan, Megan, we got about 3 minutes left. Any quick story that you guys have just of a God moment with the family?
Yeah. At our last house, we had the neighbors right next to us. There was like 16 people living in their house. And it was all like, they were all related, really big family, but they ended up having a pretty rough living situation. And
14 of them were kids.
Yeah, 14 of them were kids, and most of them were girls. So they were like always at my house and telling me like what was going on in their house. And we went outside one day and they were packing up and leaving. And the night before, there was like cops at their house, and there was like screaming and yelling and all this stuff. And their mom, there was sisters that lived there, and they both had kids. But the mom of like these 4 girls was leaving because she wanted to like get out on her feet and like get away from that situation, and it wasn't healthy at all. But I got to pray for her, and she was like really receptive of it, and she gave me her number, and I was able to keep up with her for a little bit, and like I still sometimes will text her. But then a couple months later we saw them at the zoo, and they like freaked out and ran up to us, and we like chatted with them for a little bit. But like it was cool that like that moment I got to pray over their family, and then it was like they remembered us. Like normally in my head for some reason I'm like, oh, this is just going to be like a moment and they're never going to remember this. But then a few months later we literally hadn't seen them, and all the kids were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here, like we miss you so much. And
where's your kids?
Like, it was just really cool.
It's awesome. Well, good job, guys. Thank you so much. That concludes our time with our Lighthouse leaders, Aaron, Alex, Megan, Jordan. Thank you so much for being Lighthouse leaders, guys. You have been incredible. Thank you for your service. Myself, everybody who's watching this, we just want to say thank you so much, guys. Love you all. Thank you for your time, and just proud to be a part of this together. Love you guys.